Dempsey and Brian Sexton have all the news and information to get you ready for today's game.
Into the end zone, touchdown!
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, Yucatan Guacamole, and by EverBank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Well, this isn't your father's preseason finale. And with respect to both Buick and the history of the NFL, they're simply doing things different in today's football. Tonight isn't about evaluating for the final few roster spots. Tonight is about preparing for the season opener in Indy in 2 weeks. Doug Peterson will give his starters the first half against the Dolphins, and they hope to fine-tune the timing and work on communication. Tonight is the final chance to practice against another team before the regular season begins. Hello and welcome, everybody. Brian Sexton along with Mike Dempsey to the Hyundai Studios inside EverBank Stadium, brought to you by Publix. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The game tonight brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. And after that long intro, hi, Mike. How are you?
Hey, Brian, I'm well.
Besides being skinny.
I do think it
good.
is. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do think it is about preparing for the regular season, but I do think it's also about the final few roster spots. I think
final few being the key number.
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 that are probably on the line, and depending on what they do in terms of health on the offensive line and defensive line, for that matter, do you have to keep an extra guy on the active roster because you don't want to put him on IR and lose him for the season? That can impact the initial numbers. The first 53 cut down, it's probably not going to be the 53 they roll into the regular season with, you wouldn't suspect.
Well, let's see. That comes Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and just depending on what happens tonight, they feel pretty good about their starting 5 on the offensive line, right? Now that you've got Ben Bartch back, and with what you're going to have with, help me out.
Little, Harrison,
Walker
Fortner,
Little, right.
Sheriff.
Walker Little, Ben Bartch, Luke Fortner, Brandon Sheriff, and Anton Harrison. And Harrison will obviously play this evening. Did not play last week, had the shoulder injury as well. They feel good about the starters. But, they built this offensive line group, Mike, to be able to withstand the 4-game absence of Cam Robinson. When Josh Wells went down in Detroit, it was a serious blow.
No doubt.
Because it took away the depth.
Oh, no doubt. Right? I mean, you're in a position now where Blake Hance has become a really important part of this football team. He's your swing tackle probably on opening day, and he can also play a number of other positions. He's kind of like a new era Tyler Shatley in a way, and Tyler Shatley himself with the blood thinner issue with the AFib still not fully cleared to go. So, he's a little bit up in the air. Cooper Hodges looked like he was on pace to make this opening day 53. And, he has the patella injury. So, a lot of questions about how that offensive line group will shake out.
All right, let's get things started with the big stories from the week. And by the way, Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. We'll start with Doug Peterson. There are only a few spots available for a team that returned so many guys from the 9-8 squad that got into the playoffs last year and beat the Chargers here before losing to Kansas City. And those spots could come down to a single play here or there.
It gets real fine. It gets real fine, and it really kind of boils down to special teams. That's the third element to our team, and again, my message has always been, you may not be the starter on offense, defense, but you're a starter on special teams, and you need to embrace that role, especially if you're a new rookie, whether you're drafted, undrafted, a second-year player, whatever it might be. That's kind of your niche to make our roster, and so it gets a little finer. The more depth you have on your team, it does get harder for those guys to break in.
One example of this is Tim Jones, obviously, right? I mean, I think people have asked about Elijah Cooks and Jacob Harris and other guys like, wow, they look like they could really be players as wide receivers in this league. But the Jags don't really need a wide receiver with that last, quote, wide receiver spot. They need a guy like Tim Jones who can play all the different positions, who can block, and is really good on special teams.
Doug told me in the production meeting last week that spot is the 5th spot. The 6th spot is Parker Washington.
Washington.
And the 5th receiver in Doug's offense has to be able to block the safety. So if you're watching the game on television tonight or paying attention, watch to see which one of those guys in the running game on the field can get in front of the safety and create a seam for one of the running backs to find their way.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's what they're looking for. All right, the word of the week, Mike, from the offensive coaches was clean. They're looking for a clean performance this evening. Obviously, the jerseys aren't going to be clean at the end of the night, especially not as hot as it is outside. So what does clean mean? We asked the quarterback.
Unlike the first one, just no turnovers, not a lot of penalties, which I think the guys did a really good job of cleaning that up from week 1 to week 2 of the preseason. So, not a lot of penalties, no turnovers. Let's just execute our assignment, block the look or whatever, execute the concept that we're running. Let's be sharp. Let's, not miss a bunch of throws, not have any drops, any of that stuff. I think just when you look at the game, let's just be polished. Let's move quickly in and out of the huddle, and just execute. I think that's what you're looking to do. And obviously there's no game's going to go perfect. So there's going to be some things that you got to, work around and some obstacles. But I think that's the main idea, just be clean and execute.
This has been a mantra of this offense all off season, right? Yes. Be clean, be clean, be clean, because they are talented. They know they're talented. They know they can be very good, Brian, if they don't shoot themselves in the foot like they did with that early interception in Game 1, with all those penalties in Game 1. And Trevor Lawrence is right. They did a great job in cutting that down, and hopefully we'll see more efficient. A couple of penalties are going to happen. There's no question about it. But don't cost yourself the opportunities, because you have players that could be among the highest scoring offense in the league.
Well, and this is the first chance for the starters to play the starters of another team in the preseason, because remember, the Dallas Cowboys didn't play their starters, and Detroit obviously sat theirs at the same time the Jaguars sat theirs last week. So this will be the first time to see against a frontline group, and I'll be watching carefully, especially in the trenches, to see about those holding penalties.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, moving along. Press Taylor, the offensive coordinator, has spent a lot of time this offseason with the quarterback, and we're all expecting a jump for Trevor Lawrence. If he makes that jump, the Jaguars potentially could make a jump up towards the elite status in the NFL. Press Taylor was asked this week, do you like where your quarterback's at?
It feels that way. I mean, obviously you got to prove it every down in this league, but it certainly seems like he's kind of picked up where he left off at the end of the season and carried that through the entire offseason, not necessarily training camp, to where, it feels like we're light years ahead as an offense of where we were at this time last year. But again, in this league, you got to prove it every single down. It doesn't matter how you feel. It matters how you perform. So that's what we want to continue to see from all our guys.
Look, don't kid yourself. Calvin Ridley is a big addition to this offense. Tank Bigsby is a big addition to this offense from the looks of things in the offseason. All these things are great. There's nothing more impactful on how much better the Jaguars are going to be this year than the development of Trevor Lawrence, who's only 23 years old, won't turn 24 until October, and by all accounts, and you hear Press Taylor saying it, he picked up where he left off at the end of last season when he was going 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in the final 9 games. Now, he had the big interception game in the playoffs, but we also know he had the big comeback in that game. So, Brian, the sky's the limit. I mean, there are not enough superlatives you can throw at the potential for Trevor Lawrence.
There was so much conversation about the third quarterback. We talked about the fifth receiver a couple of minutes ago, talking about a swing tackle. I had an offensive coach tell me this week, none of that matters. None of it matters if the quarterback isn't the storyline. He has got to be the guy that we are focused on, and we are. And when you look at the way that Trevor has practiced and played, he's had a really good camp.
He's had a good camp, and he's carrying himself like a guy who knows how good he is and how good he can be. Not that he ever doubted that, I'm sure, but you got to have a little bit of on-field success at this level to truly embody that.
There's also, and I don't know the right word for it, whether it's an energy or a chemistry, there's something between Doug, Press, Mike McCoy, and Trevor. There is a confidence, there is an understanding, there is a level of innate communication. I talked to Trevor in our production meeting on Thursday. He's just as calm, collected, and he said, we all know the offense and know what the other person is thinking, right?
Yeah, and that's a great thing, too. I mean, this is Trevor Lawrence's first time in a few years there. He's been in the same offense for consecutive seasons, and you expect that to be a big benefit.
All right, let's flip it to the defense, and so far, so good. The defense has come up with 6 sacks. Pressure has been an issue, obviously, that we've talked a lot about, and 5 takeaways through the preseason. Mike Caldwell talked this week about his perspective on how this unit is coming along.
Yeah, we're a work in progress. We're out there. We did some good things in the preseason, done a couple of good things out there on the field against our offense. It's just day by day we come in here and try to get better. We focus on certain things, and sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. Turnovers and tackling has been one thing we've really harped on, and that's starting to show up a little bit. So hopefully that continues. But it's early and they come in bunches. We just have to continue to work on it, continue to talk about it, and, once the season comes, hopefully they'll continue to come.
Two things here. I'd like to see the first-team defense get a few sacks today, right, against a first-team offense. But Greg Jr.'s put himself in position to maybe win the opening day nickel job because he is in the middle of a bunch of turnovers. Fumble recovery, forced fumble, interception. I don't care if the ball's thrown right to you or not. He's had a knack for finding the ball in the first two preseason games, and that's huge.
He's a big, talented, aggressive, and I think that's the word that best describes Gregory Jr. For a guy coming from Ouachita Baptist, right, coming from NAIA Division II, last year was big. And in the span of just a couple of months now, he feels comfortable and is super aggressive. And that's the reason why he's been able to make so many plays.
And he's going to get some run with the ones today, too.
You bet. All right, let's wrap it up here. We talked about a few roster spots, Mike. And, we always talk about it this time of the year. When you're talking about the last roster spots, it comes down to special teams. And Heath Farwell is a guy who will be involved in the conversation, but he doesn't get the final say.
It's a collaborative effort. I think there is some spots at the end that kind of maybe I can persuade, the organization, Coach Peterson, Trent Baalke. If everything is equal, hey, this guy's a tad better on special teams, he can help us, or he's a four-phase guy we can't let out of the building. I like to think that I have a little influence on that.
Yeah, as you wrote on the rundown sheet here, he gets a say but not a vote.
Yeah, exactly.
He may have a little bit of influence, but in the end, Doug Peterson is going to be the guy that makes these calls. But look, if it does come down to a tie, hey, if this comes down to special teams, who's the guy that you need more than everybody else out of this group? So he could actually swing the vote.
The guy who he uses the example is Dewey, Andrew Wingard, who came in here and was not on the field as a safety a lot, but was on every special team.
Right.
Became that four-core guy that was involved in it all. And you're looking for another Dewey in that space, whether he plays receiver or safety or whatever, who you can count on special teams. And if you need him, have him active on game day.
Yep, I think they got a lot of good options, actually.
Yeah, this is it's a talented roster. There's a lot of good young players that they believe that they can develop. All right, you know what time it is, folks. It does not need a build-up. It builds itself. It is time for E to the T, as he likes to say. Come on, somebody.
Come on, somebody. Oh, that was a good one. Welcome back to another edition of Come On Somebody. It's preseason week 3, and your Jacksonville Jaguars play host to the Miami Dolphins. Now, again, I know it's preseason week 3. However, we are guaranteed to see them starters play.
If they can play 2 quarters, I'd love to get, a 2-minute drive if we could. Those are all things that, it's hard to simulate in practice. We'd love to get the defense a 2-minute scenario there as well.
Thank you, Coach. And guess what? We back in the 904, baby. So I know that bank gonna be thick.
Can't wait. It'll be good to see the bank back.
It's my quarterback. But let's get straight to the point here. This is where I, E to the T, allow you, the people, to express yourselves on all things Jacksonville Jaguars. So what I'm gonna do right here is play some of my favorite calls from what y'all have submitted. Come on, somebody.
AT, it's Stone Cold. I'm going to get to the point. I don't care if it's Justin Herbert.
What?
Just frozen sherbert.
What?
Or Bert and Ernie.
What?
Do all. And that's the bottom line.
This is your boy Van Keezy on the mic. I had to get back on here once again.
My boy Van Keezy on the mic. What's happening?
But we stacking these wins.
AFC South Division champs.
Trevor Lawrence get there and box with him.
Flow like a butterfly.
Touchdown.
Bam. 3-piece.
And our defense, we gonna get interceptions.
What else?
Sacks.
What else?
Fumbles. We gonna get it all this week.
Okay.
But we gonna put it out. Like Duval do, baby. Duval! Come on, somebody. You know it.
To all the ladies in the place with style and grace.
Allow me to lace these lyrical oohs in your eyes. I see what you did there with that big papa.
Duval! Go Jazz! Come on, somebody! Yeah!
All right, Jax, let's have a good year. Come on, somebody.
Say it again.
Come on, somebody.
Duval!
And now, I'm going to go set the foundation for this game the brackish way. Holla at me in the buzz zone. Come on, somebody.
7 o'clock game is A little late for preseason game. it'll be good though.
Yeah, it'll be good for ET. Gets a little pregame in before the game. It sounds like he's excited about that.
Yeah, there's been cautious optimism in years past, but I don't sense that in Jacksonville this year. I sense an energy level and a confidence about this team, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I think 2018 had a lot of optimism, but in the back of your mind, you're wondering, do we have enough to protect the quarterback, right? You don't need to worry about that.
And can the quarterback take a step?
Correct. Now the quarterback's going to take several steps, and how far can he drag the rest of this roster, which is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Along with him.
All right. Well, up next on the Publix Tailgate Show.
Very excited.
Really?
Yeah. It's just great to be back in football and be playing.
He's back in just in time. Left guard Ben Bartch is this week's Baptist Health Player Interview. Plus, CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco. Jaguars and Dolphins are less than 3 hours away here on the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities Program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
And the Publix Tailgate Show continues. Brian and Mike with you here in the Hyundai Studios. The Jaguars and Dolphins coming your way at 7 o'clock from EverBank Stadium in Jacksonville. In time for your weekly visit with CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco.
Yep, we chatted earlier this week, and one of the things, everyone's handling the last preseason game a little bit differently. We saw a number of games yesterday where one team would play the starters, the other team rested everybody. So I asked Pete if he felt like the decision to play the starters for up to a half today was the right one for Jacksonville.
I like it, Mike. If you don't play,
you go a long time without playing football. And by that I mean without tackling, without being hit, without being pressured with guys in your face. And I think that matters. And I think Doug Peterson playing these guys and getting them the ability to hit some people and be tackled and be pressured and everything else, I think it makes all the sense in the world. I like it. I think more and more teams are going to start leaning in this direction because there's only so many opportunities to get guys to get hit and get acclimated to playing football again. So I'm all for it.
I think we both agree you want to keep everybody as healthy as possible, but football's dangerous. But beyond the health aspect of it, Pete, what in particular might you like to see from the starters today, or any couple of starters in particular?
Well, I think I want to see the pass rush. It's always that. You watch some of the stuff coming out of Detroit, and they did some good things rushing the passer, and I think that needs something to be carried over. And on the offensive side of the ball, offensive line play. Can they, hold up in protection? Can they handle the run game? And they, a lot of those guys have done well so far in the preseason and the work I watched in the practices. So I think those are two things you got to keep an eye on, because it always comes down to blocking and being able to rush the passer. And I think that's so important for this team.
Speaking of offensive line play, Pete, I think that, people are assuming or have assumed up to this point when Cam Robinson comes back after his suspension, he'll be inserted as the left tackle. Walker Little will slide inside to guard, where they've cross-trained him this training camp. But Cam struggled a little bit, as noted by head coach Doug Peterson this week, said he was on the ground way too much this past game. Where do you think Cam stands right now, and what do you attribute his, let's say, mediocre preseason play to?
Mediocre's being kind about last week, by the way, Mike. He was bad. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. He was playing against backups, and he was bad. And he wasn't great in week one when he played. So I think he's got to pick up his play. And this is a guy who, they probably expect him to step back in and be the left tackle, move Walker Little inside. But if he doesn't play better, in this game and then moving forward when he does come back, I don't see that happening. I think this is a major issue for them because Walker Little's been better at left tackle. Now, here's the other problem with that. Walker Little was good at guard the other day, really good. He looked comfortable. He got to the second level. He knew what to do. He was physical in the run game. And so, maybe an ideal scenario would be have Cam Robinson play left tackle and Walker Little play left guard. Gives you the best five. But the way Cam Robinson's playing, I don't necessarily think that's the case right now. So he's got to step up his game. And for a coach to call you out in preseason when you're making that kind of money, I think that speaks volumes about Doug Peterson, how he feels about Cam Robinson.
Well, his play won't impact who opens the season as the starter, obviously, with Cam being suspended. So, Pete, what are the position battles, if any? Do you think there are any starters' jobs up for grabs here in the final preseason game and final weeks before we kick off the NFL campaign?
I think, nickel corner, I think that's one. Can one of the young guys continue to push, or are they just simply comfortable with Trey Herndon in that role, and you end up having to play a lot of zone because he can't play man-to-man across the board? I think that's one. I think that's one of those jobs. And I think, starters' jobs on the line, I don't think there's that many. What's going to happen at left guard when Bartch gets back? That kind of situation. But I think when you look at it from the surface, this is a pretty easy team to plunk in, put the starters in. What comes down to is the guys in the backup at the end of the roster, and that's a good thing. I mean, you're talking about, you look at the receiver spot. Who's going to win the last job? I think that's one, battle out there still to be determined. Who's the extra corners? I think that's another job to be determined. And then, the defensive line or any of those guys, the younger players, has Ledbetter done enough to make the roster? I think those are some of the competitions, but I think from a starting standpoint, nickel corner is really the one that stands out.
The mention there of Jeremiah Ledbetter, Brian, I don't think there's much question that he makes the team. He may be called on to play a lot very early in this season.
He's a guy who is built to play inside. He's really, bottom heavy. Not a nice thing to say about ladies, but, for him, he likes it, right? He's a big butt, and in the middle of that defense, you need a guy who can anchor down.
Yeah.
And he's built that way. And so to have that kind of a guy, plus he's shown up every game. He's
Pass
been
rush last week was outstanding, forced a fumble, so why not?
Let me give you another name, Christian Braswell, the youngster from Rutgers. He's going to see time in the nickel situation behind Trey Herndon, but also behind
Greg Jr.
And Braswell's a guy they want to see if he can play it. They think he can. They think he's got the mental toughness to play inside.
Well, if Junior wins that job and they feel like Braswell can play it, Trey Herndon's a little bit more expensive, a little bit older.
Has been here as an undrafted rookie since 2018 and has hung on, but you eventually get replaced in that role. Another name that stands out, Monteric Brown, is a guy, because Pete talked about the other defensive backs. Brown's going to get some time with the ones today in the first half. He's a guy who's had a good camp. They want to see if he can lift his game to another level. And another guy that they are focused on, especially from a special teams perspective, is Ventrell Miller. They want to get Miller some spots, some moments with the first team, and then let him play throughout the second half and see how he fares today.
Well, I mean, again, that's a guy with fourth-round draft equity, and he has made plays so far in the preseason as well, and he's a little bit younger, a little bit cheaper than Shaq Quarterman. If you decide that that's the head-to-head, for one roster spot.
Yeah, I think it is, and he moves. I mean, you saw his pass rush last week in Detroit. He's got an explosive quality to him that I haven't seen from Shaq. Now, Shaq has the explosive when he hits you, but in terms of moving, Miller's going to push for that roster spot based on his ability to run.
And those things I listed, I think, give him the leg up in that competition. I mean, you invested a middle of the draft pick on him, and he is younger, he is inexpensive, and he's made plays.
He certainly has. And one more. We've talked about the receivers going for that fifth spot. There are 4 of them, to my information, who are in the hunt tonight. Tim Jones, Jacob Harris,
Seth Williams.
Seth Williams is the one who most people have overlooked, and Kevin Austin, the youngster who was on the practice squad from Notre Dame last year.
Boy, I feel Elijah Burks has outplayed Kevin Austin. I think Austin's looked good on the practice field.
Yep.
And he hasn't been able to translate it to performance in the games, whereas Burks has shown up big in that capacity. So that would surprise me.
And this is where the blocking has been the differentiating factor. Plus, Williams and Harris are 2 guys who have shined as coverage guys in special teams, guys who can really get down the field and make plays.
And most of those guys give you a big physical presence as well, which they really don't have in their other wide receivers.
No, Harris and Cooks in particular are 2 guys who can really go up and high point the ball and get it. So, well, it's time now for our player interview presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ben Bartch was settling in nicely in his first season as the starting guard last year. The club was 2-2 in Week 5, and even though they were going through the bumpiest part of the season, there was still a sense of optimism. They lost Bartch to a torn knee ligament in that 5th game to Houston and would lose the next 3. And when they finally turned things around, Bartch was beginning a long and grueling rehab process. He knew it would be tough physically and learned a lot about himself as he worked to get back to football.
I think you surprise yourself down your own road and path of, holy smokes, like I just did that kind of stuff. And I think the body follows the mind a lot more. And so if you're mentally like, hey, I'm good, like that might hurt or that might feel a little weird, but I'm going to go ahead and try it again. For me, that was probably like, I think running and stuff, like it's a complete compartmentalized, progression of running and then squatting and then doing lateral movement. But yeah, over the last couple months, I've definitely felt better.
You've done difficult things in your life. Where does this rank?
This is up there. Injuries are part of football. That's an assumed risk. We all know the rules of the game and we know the risk. But it was frustrating, and football is an incredibly violent sport that sometimes this stuff happens and we don't know why. And it's random sometimes, but I think it was definitely a challenge of myself and just being on your own on this journey and facing it and controlling what you can.
So when you left, the team was struggling, and now you're coming back. There's a team with real expectations, building on the way that last season ended. What's your sense of this team, the locker room, all these guys after what happened last year?
I think everybody on this team is invested, and I think our coaches are invested. I think we all care about one another genuinely as friends, as teammates, about the city. The city's excited, and I've been around for some tough seasons, and I've been around when Jaguar football wasn't as exciting. And now, this city deserves some wins, and we want to do that, and we also care about each other and have our own culture that's separate. But ultimately, I think we care about each other in the city.
We're standing in one of the reasons why there's so much excitement around this team. I mean, the Miller Electric Center is phenomenal. Coming from the cave over there in the building, what's it like to come back here?
Yeah, it's cool. It's so different, and if that's all you know, you almost become comfortable in the cave, you know. But yeah, it's awesome, and there's a lot to be thankful for, and you know, everybody's excited. So
a lot of guys are banged up in your room right now. What's the mentality like in the offensive line room?
I think it's always next guy up. We're a unit. Everybody is held to the same standard of work ethic and being accountable. So we're going to work our butts off like we have been, and we're going to support each other and those guys that are hurt or nicked up, and we're all going to come together.
How excited are you to get back on the field, even if it's just a preseason game?
Very excited.
Really?
Yeah, it's just great to be back in football and be playing.
Final thought. 16 is a special player. You guys obviously understand that. This offense has an explosive capability, it looks like. What's the next step? What do you see coming from 16 this year?
I think that he's on the progression and he already is doing incredible stuff. I think it's going to come naturally, and you saw him last year, more confidence, settled down, calm, cool, collected. I think he's going to build off of a great year and have a better one.
And that puts pressure on you guys, not in a bad way, but the pressure to lift your game, to rise to his standard, right?
Pressure is a privilege, definitely, and we get that, which is awesome.
Pressure is a privilege. Love that line from Ben Bartch. He is a very important storyline this week, coming back right now as the regular season gets started because of Cam Robinson's suspension and Josh Wells' injury. If he wasn't ready at this point, the hope was that Josh Wells could step in there and play some left guard until Cam got back. But with Wells gone, you were really counting on getting this guy back because he's a known entity. At least 17 starts over a guy like Blake Hance.
Right, and he also won the job last year over Tyler Shatley, who a lot of people thought would win that job.
And by another guy, we don't know whether he's going to be back or not.
Correct. But, you know, so this is actually the Jags' offensive line getting a significant upgrade here if he can remain healthy and show that he is in form enough for the regular season. And obviously it sounds like he's itching to go. And the one thing he said on there, Brian, you know, camaraderie and a good feeling on a team doesn't necessarily win you football games, but it can hurt you if you don't have it at times. And they really do seem to have a lot of that around here, and I think that's a tribute to the coaching staff and the front office who've really focused on football character and putting this team together.
It's a good locker room, and that's what you're looking for as you get set to start the regular season. Well, coming up in 15 minutes, Hall of Famer Tony Boselli and Jeff Lageman join us in the booth. But up next,
you get ready because you don't want to make SportsCenter, you know, and that's always one thing that you get ready for. Those guys can score right now.
That's cornerback coach Deshae Townsend. The Jags and Dolphins at 7 in Week 3 of the preseason. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
Flight by Yingling is the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yingling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass, raise the bar. Flight by Yingling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yingling & Son Incorporated. Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late. Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
And welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Jaguars and Dolphins coming up at 7. And this is hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show. And our broadcast this evening is brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the National Football League. Well, the secondary has been fun to watch this year. It has been very competitive. A lot of young guys that we've talked about, and some veteran players like Tyson Campbell, who is playing as good as he ever has. Really strong player. So I hooked up with Deshae Townsend to talk a little bit about this group, what he expects of them tonight, what's on the to-do list.
I just want to see them communicate, attention to detail. You know, some of the things we talked about last year of tackling better and just making the communication is one.
You know, we talked so much about the second year for a lot of the guys on the offensive side. What does it mean for the defensive side?
Man, just understand the defense. You know, it's allowing them not just, now they know the plays. They know what's expected of the call, and now they just get to go out there and play.
There's a lot of attention focused on Tyson Campbell. Have you seen a growth in him to this third year for him?
Man, he's a star already, but I just think it's the little things, you know, the way that he competes daily, that's what separates him.
About the mental approach, I don't think he gets enough credit for how strong he is up top.
Yeah, he understands he's a corner, you know, but the thing that allows him to be great on the field is what he does before the games, and if he continues that, the sky's the limit.
As a position coach, how do you deal with such depth? You've had a lot of guys make plays. How difficult does that make your decision?
As for Trent and Coach Peterson. It's easy for me. I just go out there and coach it, and Trent and Doug, they'll do what's best for the team. But that's what you want. You know, being a player, you know, you never want to see those days come, but you want guys to go out there and give themselves the opportunity to continue to play in this league.
Well, let me throw a couple names at you, right? From Ouachita Baptist to competing, as we're told, for the starting nickel job. What is it? What an incredible job you've done, right? But Gregory Jr. to step into that role, it's almost surprising.
No, it is, but Trent and the scouting department, they do a great job of finding guys that have the ability, you know, and it's on us as a coaching staff and to send the message that Coach Peterson has to allow guys to flourish. But for Greg, it's on him. You know, he's come in every day, he's worked. He has a skill set, and it's just now just getting the football reps, and he's getting it.
Well, and then even young guys like Monteric Brown is coming back, and then the Wilson kid from UCF made some noise this year.
No, it's a good group, you know, and that's what we want. You know, and it starts like we always talk about it, not just one person, but, you know, Tyson, Jink, you know, D. Will leading those guys, showing them the example, showing them the way, and then they're hungering themselves to want to be a pro.
And the other thing that stands out, your coaching staff, you're all back together again. The value of that for you guys from a communication standpoint and just the overall quality of the defensive staff.
Yeah, I just think it's just the guys in the room, you know, just from leadership down, everybody's on the same page. guys that love football, and they're good people. And I think that carries over to the team.
And I have to ask you, you're going to see real speed. Waddle and Hill. How, even though it's a preseason game, how do you get ready for that challenge?
You get ready because you don't want to make SportsCenter, and that's always one thing that you get ready for. Those guys can score right now, and so you better be on your technique from the beginning to the end.
All right. Well, Tyson Campbell is a guy that we need to talk about. I interrupted your thought.
No, that's fine. Tyson Campbell I thought was interesting because we focused so much on the kind of camp Calvin Ridley's had.
Yep.
And, Tyson talked about how that is really going to help him to start the season off on a high note, working against a guy who's, at the time when he was in Atlanta, maybe the best route runner in the National Football League, and he's shown that on the practice field so far. And, you'll love to hear Deshae Townsend, who knows what a star looks like, to say that Tyson's already that.
In the first day of pads, there were 2 reps where Tyson lined up against Calvin. And the first one, they hand-fought their way up the field, and there was a sick move to the inside by Ridley that just left Tyson basically 2 yards away, and he dropped the ball. So they got ready to play a little bit later and line up for the same thing, the same rep. And over comes Deshae, and here comes Trevor. And they had their guys like heavyweight fighters in the corner, right? Like they were managing them and talking about what was going to go on. And the very next play, same thing. It was just up and down the field, and I think Calvin pulled that one in. The point was, you were watching 2 guys at the top of their game, practicing, and all the other corners and receivers were watching that too. They set a tone that day for the way that this team practices and expects to play.
I think you can make the argument that Tyson Campbell's the second best and second most important player on this entire football team. We know who number 1 is, but he may be the most important guy on the defensive side of the ball.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I think the fall off beyond him is pretty steep, right? And if you've got a guy who is a legit number 1 corner, like a top 20 corner in the National Football League, you have options on game day. You look at this team, they've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You could opt to cover Tyreek Hill with Tyson Campbell. You could opt to send your next best 2 after Tyreek Hill and let Tyson Campbell take out presumably whoever the number 2 is, in this case Jalen Waddle. It just gives you options that you don't have when you've got just average players at the position.
All right. Well, if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. Loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between, this truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer is a proud partner of the Jaguars. At 5 o'clock, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show with J.P. Shadrick. But before we get there, Jeff Lageman and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli join us from the booth. The Jaguars and Dolphins kick off at 7 in the preseason finale. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Hey Jags Nation, it's Andre Sisco, safety of your Jacksonville Jaguars, here to talk to you about Lou Ray Peanut Company. Lou Ray is bringing something to the market that has never been done before, microwavable boiled peanuts. Whether you like salty or a peppery Cajun kick, they've got you covered. Now, thanks to them, y'all can enjoy boiled peanuts at the bank while you watch me and the rest of the team tear it up on the field. Can't make the game? No sweat. Find a bag at a store nearest to you by heading to LouRayPeanut.com/find us. Go nuts, go Jags, and as always, Duval.
Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative, results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey, I know we love our happy hours, but have you been to Mr. Chubby's Wings for lunch lately?
Yep, their new specials are awesome. I eat lunch there all the time.
I went this week and got wings, a drink, and chips for $8.
As usual, the best prices in town. You can't hardly find anyone doing $8 lunch anymore.
I know. I'm saving my money for the weekends with $8 lunch specials.
Save your money for the weekends. Enjoy $8 lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Fleming Island, the West Side, and Ponte Vedra Beach. Mr. Chubby's Wings.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your workforce solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
The Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Jags and Dolphins just over 2 hours away, and that game this evening brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars in the NFL. Time now for First Rounds on Us. And Jeff Loggam and Tony Baselli are upstairs in the booth. And fellas, how are you? Besides hot.
No, it's actually not too bad, Brian. I mean, the air conditioning's working good, you know. Got the windows open, but got enough coming from the back to kind of keep us cool.
It's hot. It's hot outside, Brian. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Walking from the parking lot, I'm like, this is more than I can handle right now.
More than you can handle? Can you handle the next 10 minutes?
Well, I can handle this because I'm like Jeff said, I'm in the air conditioner right now.
He's getting soft.
I am soft as soft gets. Let me tell you that right now.
All right, time for UF Health Finding Solutions. UF Health, delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. And tonight, the question is simple. Well, the question is simple. Whether the answer will be determined by you two. How do you handle the defensive front if Devon Hamilton and Foley Fatukasi are not available in 2 weeks in Indianapolis?
Well, it's a great question. And I think the easy answer is Ledbetter, who had a very good game in Detroit, and Adam Gotsis. And then you also have a rookie that I think has shown some things in Tyler Lacey. So, and here's the reality. I mean, how many snaps do you really play 3 big guys anyway? I mean, Brian, this is a league, and Tony, you know this. I mean, it's a nickel league, and so you need 4 guys on the field and not necessarily 3 big guys most of the time.
Yeah, I would agree with Jeff. I do think losing both does hurt. I mean, even just from a depth standpoint, and especially as well as Devon Hamilton have been playing this preseason. And if you want to get to the pass rushes, Jeff, as you know, you got to stop the run on first and second down. And without both of them, I think that does hamper them a little bit.
Well, and look, they learned to live without Fatukasi last year. I mean, Foley was hurt a lot of last year, and Devon, I think, is a significant loss. I think Foley you can get by. I mean, I like him, and I think he's your best option there. But the reality is that if you are just missing Foley, I think you can be okay. But Devon's he's a big guy. I think he's your best interior pass rusher, him and Roy. But Devon probably has the higher success rate, pushes the pocket really well. So it's not easy, Brian, but look, I mean, the thing that I'm worried about the most, I mean, when you hear Doug Peterson talk this week about Devon Hamilton, use the term, obviously, it's a non-football injury. I don't like to hear that, just because what that means is that all of a sudden, he might end up on a non-football injury list, and so you can't have him for 4 weeks.
Certainly possible, guys, and I guess we won't know until the next couple of weeks play out exactly how that will go down with Devon Hamilton. But keeping it on the defensive side, I think we'd all like to see the first-team pass rush have some success against Miami's first-team offensive line. But what about the next man up? I mean, Kayvon Chason has presumed to be that guy for a lot of this offseason, and the team had talked him up at times, but flashed a little bit last week getting into the backfield, also had a big penalty, and he didn't turn those pressures into sacks. Where does he stand right now?
Well, I think right now he's probably your third, at worst your fourth. And, Mike, I think it's a big question mark this year. I mean, I go back to last year when we were not a great pass rushing team, just by the numbers. I know we got a bunch of pressures. We didn't finish. And you had a good rotation of 4 guys at that outside backer. Smoot for most of the year, Arden Key, and you had Trayvon and Josh. Well, Smoot's going to be out for who knows how long, and we don't know what he's going to be like when he gets back with the Achilles. Arden Key's up in Tennessee. And now your depth there is questionable because I still have not seen anything, and I know the coaches are talking him up, and he's a great special teams player, but I have not seen any real production from Caleb Von Chason. And then Abdullah, the rookie, Yasir Abdullah, I think he has some nice natural ability, but he's an undersized guy, and I don't see a bunch of explosion off the ball. So where is that depth going to come from, and what does that mean for the volume of snaps that Trayvon and Josh got to play this year?
Yeah, I think the answer may lie in the waiver wire and see what you can do there. But, I mean, we all know that, look, there's not a lot of guys that come through the waiver wire that are going to be able to –
Like rush the passer?
Yeah.
How about 0 usually?
I mean, there's just not a lot of them. So it's a question mark, and the reality is that right now it appears to be a weakness, the depth, as far as pass rushers go. And I would expect this football team to address that in a big way next year. And the reality is you can't address everything in 1 year.
Guys, the nickel cornerback spot, one of the few starting spots, if you want to call it that, up for grabs here. Trey Herndon as the incumbent, but Greg Jr. has been flashing a lot, been around the football, creating turnovers. So let's say Jr. wins the battle, and he is going to play some with the ones today. Where does that leave Trey Herndon?
Well, I think it leaves Trey Herndon on the roster as another solid option that's a really good special teams player. I don't think there's any worry about his roster spot. I think tonight's going to tell us a lot. I think Gregory Jr. is going to have an opportunity to get reps with the number ones. I think Trey Herndon will as well. But, the reality is that I think Trey's reps will be somewhat limited because you have a book on him. You have a history with him, whereas Gregory Jr. is a young player, first-year player from very small school, and you don't have a lot of reps with him. So I think you're going to get a real good look at him tonight and then see what it looks like and then, find out if you can trust him. I mean, when you talk about roster spots and positions and roles, I mean, you got to have that trust, and that's a word you'll probably hear me use a lot tonight because, Tony, you and I both know if a coach can't trust a guy, it's hard to move forward with him.
No, I agree. I mean, the veteran presence and the consistency is, and to your point, Jeff, the trustworthiness, it might not be perfect, but the guy's going to show up. He's going to be in the right place. He's going to be physical. He's not going to put you in a situation where there's a bunch of mental errors and everything else. So
and that's Trey.
That's Trey.
Yeah,
that's
you trust
point.
him.
You trust him.
So, guys, swinging it over to the offense, some injuries to the depth on the offensive line, but the projected opening day starting 5 will play together for the first time today. Let's hope that they stay intact. But the next man up may be Blake Hance, particularly as a swing tackle. He's got the versatility to play multiple positions. What have you guys seen from Hance this offseason?
Well, I mean, I think he's done a good job. I mean, he's a better guard than tackle. There's some concerns if he's out there in space for a whole game playing tackle. I think you'd have to help him a little bit. But he's a big physical guy. I thought he did a good job when he had the opportunity to come in at guard, Jeff.
I don't think tonight, you're scared to play him, though, at tackle.
No, not scared to play him. I just feel more comfortable when he's got some bumpers on either side of him.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But I think tonight, Mike, is Ben Bartch. It's a big game for him. Big opportunity. He's got injured last year, missed the majority of the year, missed almost all of camp, just got brought up from the pup list. And so this is going to be the real first action we're going to see, and I think the coaches are going to be watching closely.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. He's coming back from a pretty significant knee injury. He's worked hard. The first reps that he got were in Detroit against the Detroit Lions, and he's looked really good. And this football team needs to have some type of answer at left guard. With Shatley having the AFib, I think that's a big question mark. If Shatley didn't have AFib, I think it'd be a no-brainer. But that kind of instills a little bit of question mark at that position. But excited to watch this group tonight. Excited to watch Walker Little. And one more thing, I want to see Cam Robinson play better tonight. This is his last opportunity.
That's important.
Yes.
He has not played well in the preseason, guys, and really played poorly, Jeff, against Detroit.
against Okwara, who's, good football player, but he's not a frontline guy.
He's a backup. He's a rotational guy on Sunday.
I'd like to have him as a backup here.
I would like him as backup too.
All right, guys, quickly on the final receiver spot, if we presume Tim Jones kind of has his foot in the door as the leader in that competition, who is the man most likely to overtake him if anybody does?
I think it's Harris. I think that's I think it's Tim Jones' job. I think Harris would have to do something spectacular when he gets an opportunity on offense, and I would have to have a really good night on teams because they know that Tim Jones is a good gunner. He's a core special teams guy, and he can come in if you need him as that fifth or sixth receiver. Because at the end of the day, that guy's going to be up during the regular season where the rookie Parker Washington, I think, is going to be down for most games,
bar an injury,
unless there's an injury. Because there's not a role for him on special teams because Agnew's your returner. You're not going to replace Zay Jones or Christian Kirk in the slot for Parker Washington. He doesn't have the speed of Jamal Agnew, and so the fifth we're really talking about. While Parker Washington might be deemed fifth, he's really your sixth receiver. The question is, who's your fifth receiver that is going to be a core special teams guy and contribute on Sunday, and I think that's Tim Jones.
Yeah, it's Tim Jones. You watch it week in and week out, and you watch his special teams reps, and the guy is so good. I'm talking good as you can play him at gunner. He can block gunners. He can play on kickoff return. And look, last week, remember that long catch that C.J. Beathard threw to him? That right there just solidifies the kind of role that Tim Jones has. And going back to that word trust, you trust Tim Jones. The coaches have said it repeatedly. He can play all three wide receiver positions. He can play all of the special teams. What's not to like?
All right, fellas. Thanks so much. Have a good broadcast tonight.
Thank you, boys.
See ya.
And that'll do it for hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Mike, thanks so much. Nice to see you in studio for the first time this year.
Yeah, talk to you in a couple weeks when you're up in Indy.
No, I'm here.
Oh, that's right. You are
with you.
here.
Yeah. Were you projecting? Do you want
me
to leave?
Maybe I was projecting a little bit. I've gotten so used to being a road warrior doing the TV stuff in the preseason.
Well, here's what I do know. J.P. Shadrick is coming in next, so you better be on your P's and Q's and ready to go.
The energy level's going through the roof.
100%. Today's broadcast and the game is presented by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars. Enjoy the evening, folks.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguar sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguar sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities Program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go.
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 2 hours away from preseason week 3. The Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 7 o'clock kickoff time at EverBank Stadium. And tonight's game presented by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios deep inside EverBank Stadium, ready for the first game in this building since the wild card playoff game.
I know. We talked about that this week on Jaguars Today a little bit. You know, you kind of forget that first chance for Jaguar fans to get together on this scale of an event, and I think people are excited to see it because of the way it's set up. JP, the starters didn't play last week. You know you're going to get Trevor Lawrence for an extended period of time today. You also know you're going to get Miami Dolphin starters playing at least a quarter in this game, so it's going to be the best test of the preseason.
Game day weather is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving, and it is warm in Jacksonville. 91 degrees, a bright sunny sky, a high of 92 today. By kickoff time at 7 o'clock, around 87 degrees. By the time the game ends, in the low 80s. Let's get to some of today's top stories, starting with offensive coordinator Press Taylor on what he wants to see from the starting offense. They are going tonight and maybe for a couple quarters.
You know, you want to see clear communication. It's our chance to be at home. You kind of want the butterflies of these guys getting in a game and understanding they're about to get tackled. You know, there's pressure on the line. If you don't convert, you're punting, all that type of stuff. So you really just want to try to get that smoothed out for the guys so that week 1, it's not the first time they've felt that way or communicated in a huddle or broken a huddle together and all that stuff. So clean operation from a communication substitution standpoint. And then you want to see them execute. Again, it's still somewhat of a core game plan for us. It's not exotic stuff. So you just want to go out and see clean execution out of these guys making plays.
They did have, as he mentioned there, like a minor game plan this week. They were going up against Cards in practice, but it's not a full arsenal of plays that they would have or a plan like they will week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts. But at least going through the process of getting that done. But the key word there is clean operation. Substitutions, everything needs to be clean.
That's been the big word the entire offseason, right? Clean, clean, clean when it comes to the offense, which tells you they think they're really talented, right? They're not worried about this guy showing us what he can do. They know what they're capable of doing if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, JP, with penalties, getting the plays in on time, just making sure you communicate well, making sure Calvin Ridley is a new guy in this offense. He's not in his second year in this offense, making sure he knows exactly what's being asked of him on every single play. And I think it's a good sign that has been the focus because we know the talent is there. Now it's just a opportunity to make sure you show what you're capable of doing.
Quarterback Trevor Lawrence feels the same way about the weapons around him. The offense continues to grow in this preseason, and the final look tonight for number 16.
We've built a lot of chemistry, even more in this training camp. Obviously had a lot with the guys that were here last year, and then I think me and Calvin are just clicking more and more every day. So I think it's been really great. We've gotten some great work in. I like the direction that we're heading. Just got to keep getting better every day. It's such a long season. You just got to get better every day, every week. I like where we're at right now. We got to keep getting better, and this will be a good little challenge for us. Get in there, get some good reps.
Yeah, get some reps. And as you said, most of the offense is back. Ridley is the new guy, but we'll hear from him coming up in just a few moments. Just day by day, more and more is right there with that group. And we'll see it roll out, I think, week 1 and be huge.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, Trevor Lawrence was asked this week about the possibility of throwing for 5,000 yards, right? And didn't even shy away from that. And you kind of chuckle, but that's not the norm, but it's not that far out of the norm anymore in the National Football League, particularly with 17 games. And he is the kind of guy, I fully believe that in his career he'll do that probably multiple times. I think he's capable of doing it this year, JP, but I think at the bottom line, he's going to add 500 or 600 yards to his passing total from last year. So, where are they going to be able to get all the footballs to share? Well, the offense is going to be better. They're going to be more productive. They're going to have more first downs. They're going to have more opportunities for everybody else. I cannot wait to see this thing take off this year.
Let's move to defense now, and the battle for the third corner spot is winding down. A few young cornerbacks have been in the mix for that and their special teams roles as well, including 2022 draft pick Gregory Jr., who explains what it takes to be a nickel corner.
I say you just got to be a vocal leader, just in the run game and in the passing game. Be able to just be physical on the edge, be able to just take on linemen, and also just be, like you said, we get paid to cover and tackle, but you just being able to just do both. Special teams, like you said, it's the third of the game, and special teams most really important. Because if anything happened on special teams, most likely you're probably going to lose.
So Gregory Jr., Monteric Brown were the draft picks last year, later in the draft. This year, a couple of similar ideas later in the draft of cornerbacks, all those guys kind of working together to fill some of these spots. There's a feeling that most of these guys will be on the team somewhere. They may not get the starting job as the third corner, but they'll have some time. They'll have some ways to help out this team on special teams at least.
Yeah, most of them. Maybe not all of them, though, right? Talking with Jeff Logman earlier this week, he's not convinced that Buster Brown's going to make this squad. Chris Claybrooks is an outstanding gunner on special teams. That's going to help his case. And Christian Braswell has flashed, had the interception in the opening game of the preseason here as well. But really the battle to watch is Greg Jr. versus Trey Herndon today. And I love the fact that we know that Greg Jr. is going to get a chance to play with the ones. Trey Herndon knows that as well. And, there's no hiding it, Trey. You're fighting for your job here. So we'll find out what the pressure does to him and his performance. But that is the one, we'll call it a starting spot, that is seemingly up for grabs for this football team.
Head coach Doug Peterson planning on playing the starters for a couple quarters in this game, but it's also the final chance for players on that roster bubble we're talking about. The cut comes Tuesday at 4 p.m. That's the deadline, at least. They could do it earlier. Peterson, either way, knows how difficult that day can be.
You disrupt the lives of guys that have been busting their tail for about 6 weeks, here, plus the off season, and it's a tough time to. I tell the guys all the time, you're competing for our roster, but there's 31 other rosters that are watching you too. So again, it may not be the end of the line, maybe the end of the line here, but not the end of the line, on another team. So put your best foot forward.
So we've heard coaches around here talk about that day before. Peterson was a backup quarterback, bounced around a lot in the league. He understands what that conversation means to a player. Doug Marrone said that a lot. He was the same kind of player, off and on rosters. And he remembered at least every conversation that a head coach or whoever the decision maker was had in that moment. So it's a huge moment for a player, as he said. That's given their whole summer, they're building up to this point their entire football lives, and it's going to go one direction or another. You just don't know which one.
Yeah, it's a cruel reality, right? I mean, look, a lot of these guys' NFL careers will end this week around the National Football League. And they'll get cut, they won't get picked up, or maybe they'll get a tryout or whatever, but they'll never get to see regular season action in the NFL. That won't be the case for all of them, but look, it's kind of like an injured player, JP, out of sight, out of mind. It's got to be that way. It's the next man up. So the cuts will happen. I'm sure there is a human toll, and I appreciate that Doug Peterson has that respect for that decision-making process that he is going to upset a lot of players with. But it's the name of the game, and come opening week, we're really not going to think about those guys much anymore.
Let's hear now from a guy who will make this roster, wide receiver Calvin Ridley. Of course, will make his home debut tonight for the Jaguars in the preseason at least. Fifth-year receiver now explaining what this offense could be.
This offense is so versatile. I mean, the more you know, the better, you can be used. Right now, I think, we're especially adding with me, obviously they already know it, but I've gotten caught up so much with them, and now I think the things that we're doing is going to be so cool because Trevor has so much room to just do whatever he kind of wants, and he can just give us this and that and that and that, and we all know what to do. I really think, with me, Kurt, Zay, Ag, Evan, E.T., Tank, we just got to play good, practice good, play good, bring it to the game. And I'm a believer. I have all the faith. I practice with these guys for this long. I'm a believer, man. It's Jags or nothing. So I believe we can do it.
It's Jags or nothing. The full conversation with Calvin coming up in about 10 minutes right here. You got to love that, Mike.
Oh, come on. He had the same kind of comment a week or two ago, just that expression about Trevor. Oh, just like, yeah. Yeah, he just ran through all the skill position guys. And interesting, Tank Bigsby's already being mentioned with those guys in that kind of core group right there. But, look, he knows the talent's here. There's not a question of whether they're talented enough to put up big points this year. It's a question of whether they are able to go out there and play up to their capabilities.
It's not too late to become a Daly's Place Blue member for the 2023 season. Reserve your premium seat membership or individual luxury experience today and enjoy concerts at Daly's Place with guaranteed seats in the best locations, premium parking, a VIP entrance and club access, and so much more. Email ticketing at boldevents.com or call 904-633-2000. Jaguars reporter Kai Stevens joining us in studio. How about this? A home game.
Home game. I love it.
This is how it works. Welcome in. Good to see you in person.
Thank you much.
I see you every day.
Both of you.
You too?
I see you every day at work.
Yeah,
but,
I'm really just.
you don't
I'll
see
talk
Mike.
to Mike. I'm done with you.
You don't see Mike.
Our desks are next to each other, so we see each other enough.
All the time, and it's a good thing. So this is it's a pretty good quarterback battle all of a sudden tonight. Tua Tagovailoa, who was the highest-rated quarterback in the NFL last year. We know what Trevor Lawrence is. The starters are going. This is going to be fun to watch tonight.
It's got a little real game feel to it, which is nice because the first two games in the preseason, we haven't seen much of any starters in action, and we're going to see both sides of the ball starting at least the first half. So that'll be fun to see, and obviously we want to see a fast start, which we've said 1,000 times over, but after that Dallas game, you definitely want to see it tonight.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence this week on the weapons, the confidence in them, and the big picture on offense.
Just the communication from myself and Coach Peterson and Press and the whole offensive staff. I think we have a really clear vision of what we want and what our objectives are and the things that I think we have a better idea too of what we're good at and offensively what we want to try to do. So we're in a good spot there, and then just the rapport with the guys. I think offensively, whether it's receivers, tight ends, O-line, running backs, all those guys, we're just a close group, and I think with that gives everybody confidence. You can count on the guy next to you, and the guys have played well, performed really well, and even our depth throughout the preseason has looked great. So it's just encouraging for everybody. Everybody feels like they can go play free, and just I like where we're at right now.
Yeah, a year older, a year wiser for this entire offensive group. Add some key pieces, Kai, and the sky's the limit.
And you see the confidence out there on the field, even the practice field, right? Just the way Trevor kind of conducts practice now, you can tell everybody's a little more comfortable with it. It's a second-year Doug Peterson system, but he's also getting just more comfortable being an NFL quarterback and hopefully making that jump that we all hope he's going to be able to do.
All right, I think everybody thinks he's going to make that jump, and he's got the weapons around him. Kai, I think really the only question on the offensive line is on the offense is how the line holds up this year. Yeah.
Exactly, especially after all the injuries we saw in Detroit. And I know those weren't all necessarily first-line guys, but because of the way the line is right now and Cam Robinson's suspension, a lot of these guys will end up being mixed in at different points. So injury bug is an issue, right? That is something we got to take a look at. And when they make those final cuts on Monday, what's their focus going to be? And is it going to be maybe we'll save an extra spot to try to grab somebody off waivers later that could help them in the depth department?
You know what else I'm excited about tonight? The defensive look the Jaguars defense will get against this Miami speedy offense. The Cheetah, Waddle, running back's really good. I mean, this is an offense that can test you. And it will be a really good look for this group.
They're definitely going to get tested. Tyson Campbell spoke with us a couple days ago just about the game, and he seems very serene, very excited by the matchup. I mean, his big thing is he doesn't have a particular person or a name. He like everybody. He wants to shut everybody down, and that's what you want to hear from your corner, right? So, and he says it in the calmest, non-cocky way possible because most corners are really yappy and loud.
We've had a couple around here.
I'm sure you guys are familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Tyson does it in such a calm, no, I'm just gonna shut him down. I'm like, oh, well, okay. You said it so confidently. Let's see it. It will not be as easy against, the likes of Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle or whoever it may be. So we'll see what we get tonight.
I think a big thing for this Miami offense tonight, too, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson know what's been going on with the Miami running back room, that they made overtures about Josh Jacobs, Dalvin Cook, failed to get both of them, but they are in discussions to trade for Jonathan Taylor. So I think you're going to see a really spirited effort from both of these guys. I don't think they're among the best running backs in the league, but they're really good system fits, and that's what Mike McDaniel offers. He has that Shanahan running system where if you've got the right kind of player, it could be really devastating.
And you can't put anything past the fact this is the final preseason game. So even if you're, fighting for a spot, you're trying to show out for another team, because if they do bring in a Jonathan Taylor, maybe you don't make the final roster. You need to have your last tape be your best tape so that someone else can see you and be like, oh yeah, I'll grab you and pick you up, because otherwise you're going to be out of a job. So there's that factor as well. You're going to see a lot of people go in 110% because this might be their final opportunity.
All right, Kai, hydrate. It's warm on the sidelines tonight.
I'll do it.
Let's talk to you during countdown to kickoff.
Yes, Kai Stevens will be back with us in the final hour before kickoff. Up next, though, what wide receiver Calvin Ridley has found out about Trevor Lawrence over the last 6 months, and it's more than you think. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff time in preseason week 3. The Dolphins and the Jaguars coming up. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
In partnership with Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation, any Jaguars ticket holders who are unable to attend a Jaguars home game can donate their future tickets to a Jacksonville area first responder. Visit jaguars.com/members and click Manage Account. Sign into your account and click Manage Tickets and Parking. Select the game tickets, click on the More button, and then choose to donate to the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. Firehouse Subs is dedicated to impacting the life-saving capabilities and the lives of local heroes and communities. For more information, visit Firehouse Subs Foundation. Brooks Rehabilitation has more than 50 years of experience serving the North Florida community with cutting-edge rehabilitation care, ranging from joint replacements, sports injuries, and balance issues to traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, and strokes. Their highly trained clinical teams span across their system of care to include inpatient, outpatient, skilled nursing, assisted living and memory care, home health, and adaptive community programs. Learn more at brooksrehab.org. Brooks is proud to be the rehabilitation provider for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For a refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
As the official ticket marketplace of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the NFL, Ticketmaster has a wide selection of tickets available for every game. Whether you're cheering on the Jaguars at home or away, Ticketmaster has you covered. With Ticketmaster's interactive seat map, you'll get a 360-degree preview of your seat so you can make sure you've got the best view of those pivotal plays. Plus, the Ticketmaster app makes it easy to sell or transfer tickets if your plans change. And mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars. That's Ticketmaster.com/Jaguars.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. We are inside 2 hours from preseason week 3. The Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars just after 7 o'clock. At the bank in Jacksonville. Tonight's game is presented by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. Speaking of the NFL, let's go around the NFL, Mike.
All right, let's do it, JP. A lot of preseason action already in the books for the final week of the NFL preseason. And in the division, the Colts beat the Eagles 27-13 on Thursday night. Anthony Richardson, rookie quarterback who's long been named the starter for the Colts to open the season when they take on the Jaguars, was 6 of 17 for 78 yards passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He did fumble once, and he ran it 5 times for 38 yards. The Titans picked up a win last night. Malik Willis, much maligned after his rookie season, and the team goes out and drafts Will Levis. Will Levis is banged up. Willis went the whole way, was 15 of 20 for 211 yards, a pair of touchdowns and a pair of interceptions. Titans beat the Patriots 23-7 in that one. Earlier outcomes today, the Bills knocking off the Bears 24-21. The Packers upend the Seahawks 19-15. It was Blaine Gabbert throwing for 169 yards and a couple of touchdowns for the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes taking the day off as Kansas City made a big comeback. Browns scored 22 in the first quarter. Chiefs came back to take a 33-32 lead and then blocked a last-second field goal attempt by Cleveland to hang on for the win there. And the Cardinals got their second win in 3 tries in the preseason. Don't know if they'll match that total in the regular season, but 18-17 over the Vikings. Still to come today, the Jets at the Giants, Baltimore at Tampa Bay, the L.A. Rams at Denver, Cincinnati at Washington, and Las Vegas at Dallas. And speaking of Vegas, the Raiders agree on a 1-year sweetened deal with Josh Jacobs, who was due to make about $10.4 million had he signed the franchise tag. He was not holding out. He wasn't under contract, but not reporting to Raiders camp, and they've reportedly agreed on a 1-year deal that'll be worth $12 million for Jacobs, so he should be in the starting lineup come opening day.
There you have it around the NFL. How about Blaine Gabbert, by the way? Back up in Tampa to Tom Brady and then goes over to Kansas City, replaces Chad Henne, who was the backup there, of course. He's going to be the backup to Mahomes. That's a pretty good run as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, it's a great place to play, and we saw what Chad Henne was, how important he was to the Chiefs in the postseason against the Jags last year. So they had an affinity for the former Jaguar quarterbacks.
The 2023 season is finally here. Single-game tickets are on sale now, so pick your favorite matchups and get down to the bank and see the AFC South champions take the field this fall. Visit Jaguars.com/tickets. or call 904-633-2000. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley joined the Jaguars in a trade last season. He was reinstated from a league suspension for gambling this March, and now it's a contract year in a new place with a new lease on his football life, and he absolutely loves what's going on here in Jacksonville. I caught up with Ridley this week. We discussed plenty, including what else he needed in tonight's game to get ready for the regular season.
Game reps, I would say, just to get past the excitement part. Just getting those games and I'm so ready to go. I just got to calm down. I'm not nervous. I'm just amped. And I felt like in that Dallas game I was just too amped. So I got to chill and just get those reps, and then, it feels like you need to condition it because you're so amped, but you don't. You just need to relax. I just need to just relax. I'm so excited to play. That's what I feel like for me. And, just being in the game, feeling football again, getting hit and stuff.
Did you have that, like the anticipation of being too amped before, or is that just a byproduct of being out of it for so long?
I think it's just being out of it so long and just being just so happy to be past the part of playing again. It's just like being in that Dallas game, like I was amped in the warm-ups, and then when I put on my equipment, first couple plays, it was just like, I gotta chill. I was just telling myself, relax. Like, it's not like, it was just so much excitement for me and just so awesome to be in that game. I was just like, I gotta relax so I could play better.
Calvin, when it comes down to the actual football part of it, once you're in the game, is there anything else you need to see, routes, certain ideas that you want?
Yeah, I just obviously want to work on my game, my overall game. And like I said, it comes down to just relaxing and remembering what, Coach Chad is teaching me, my releases, how to, get off the ball, how to be more efficient, just, seeing the game and slowing it down, just being more calmer for me, and just, bringing my practice tools to the game.
Calvin Ridley with us. This wide receiver group, you've had an whole offseason with them now, and now in a training camp, a couple of preseason games. Is there pound for pound a better room in the NFL? There's so many varied types of receivers on this team, it feels like. What do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, obviously we're very confident in the room and in ourselves. I talk to the guys all the time. But, we want to come off as humble first. We definitely believe that we're one of the top groups. Obviously, we got to show first. So give us some time, you know what I'm saying? And I definitely think we'll be, coming around the end of the year, we'll be one of the top groups for sure, no doubt, because we put in the work. We are really good players, and I think, no doubt, we have what it takes to be one of the best groups on the field all the time.
What does it take to, in this offense, the ability to move pieces around? You got to know more than just one spot in this offense, right?
No doubt. I mean, this offense is so versatile. I mean, the more you know, the better you can be used. Right now, I think we're especially with adding with me. Obviously, they already know it, but I've gotten caught up so much with them, and now I think the things that we're doing is going to be so cool because Trevor has so much room to just do whatever he kind of wants, and he can just give us this and that and that and that, and we all know what to do. I really think, with me, Kurt, Zay, Ag, Evan, E.T., Tank, we just got to play good, practice good, play good, bring it to the game, and I'm a believer. I have all the faith. I practice with these guys for this long. I'm a believer, man. It's Jags or nothing. So I believe we can do it.
Final thought with you. The guy triggering all that is number 16.
No doubt.
So from day one when you walked on a field with him to now, what have you found out about your quarterback?
I obviously knew. I'm gonna be real with you. I obviously knew he was good, and that's why I came here, because I knew that 16 would help me be good and get me back to what I wanted to get back to, and I thought the team was on the rise of being a Super Bowl type team. You know what I'm saying? So I chose that, but honestly, it's his personality. I thought he was more like, he's just so fun. I don't know if you guys know, but I looked at him as like, all right, he's a quarterback, godly, just great person. He's more chill, he's more relaxed, serious about the work, but he's just a good, fun kid, someone you can, have fun with and be around and enjoys the game with him. You know what I'm saying? We work and we have fun. It's easy to talk to him, fun to talk to him. He laughs, he jokes. I thought that part was more, cooler than anything that I've seen him do, for real. Just made me feel a little bit more like, oh, I had to tell a couple guys, Trevor's cool, y'all. I thought that part was really cool because it just blew me, for real. I had it, I was just seeing it from afar, and I was like, all right, this is what I think of him. Then got with him, went to his house, we went over things like that, and just was like, oh, yeah, I like Trevor a lot, man. He's so cool.
That is Calvin Ridley, and you can just hear the smile on his face through that entire conversation, and you can hear that conversation again on the official Jaguars Podcast Network. It's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download your pods, also on Jaguars.com. Just click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage, and we could talk to Calvin all day long. He's locked in and ready.
I hope so. I'm ready to stop hearing from him, ready to start watching him, right?
That's what he said too, right?
To hear from him.
That's what he said too. It's like, yeah, we're going to be good. We got to go play games first.
Let's go, right? We got all the pieces in place, and I think he meant to say Trevor was as cool as the other side of the pillow.
That's
is
right.
where he was
That's
going
where
with
he was
that
going.
one.
That's
Yes.
right. That's of course.
Clearly.
Of course. We're back in just a few moments with a fantasy forecast. Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth as well. That's in about 15 minutes. Up next, though, it's a pregame Huddle Up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Oehser in the broadcast booth. We're about an hour and a half away from kickoff. It's preseason week 3. It's the Dolphins and the Jaguars coming up. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
What makes that famous call
"Dinner's ready"
even better? It's cooking a great meal with natural gas, enjoying faster cooking times and precise temperature control. And now getting a valuable cash rebate up to $300 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas range or cooktop.
Anyone want seconds?
When you show your home love with natural gas, it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, Visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Everyone wins when two great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan nacho carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at EverBank Stadium. The Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up just after 7 o'clock. Let's go up to the broadcast booth here at the bank and welcome in NFL Network analyst, Jaguars preseason TV analyst, Jaguars regular season radio field analyst Bucky Brooks, and John Oehser.
I tell you, that's about how it is.
I love the pregnant pause. I love the pregnant pause for John.
And then the pregnancy yields nothing.
Wow. So here we are, preseason week 3, guys, at the bank finally, which is a great thing, obviously, to be back home. But hey, you're going to see some action tonight. The starters, most of them will go in this game. Bucky, for Doug Peterson said maybe a couple of quarters. We'll see on an individual basis how that goes. But Miami's starters are going out there too, so this is a pretty good look for both sides.
Yeah, great look. And I love what Doug Peterson is doing, playing the starters maybe into the second half, because at some point you want to be able to have enough chemistry and continuity where you feel good about going into the regular season. You want to hit the ground running. Some teams offer the approach, hey, we'll figure it out the first 4 weeks of the regular season. But we're seeing teams like the Kansas City Chiefs who play their guys during the preseason. They've been able to dominate the month of September, and it really pays huge dividends at the end of the regular season. For the Jaguars, I'm sure Doug Peterson is trying to follow a similar approach. He wants this team to be clicking on all cylinders when they kick it off in September.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder if we're not starting to find what the system might be, meaning they went from 4 to 3 preseason games, and whenever anything changes in the NFL, there's a transition of figuring out how to do this. I think if Doug Peterson can get a joint practice on the second week of the preseason, I think we're seeing this is how he's going to like it. Treat the practices that week like a game. Give the starters the guys the night off on that following Saturday, and then ratchet it up in that final preseason game with 2 weeks to go. So this makes sense. I got to be honest, JP, and you haven't heard me say this very much. I've kind of enjoyed this preseason in terms of watching the games.
Wait a minute.
Well,
who replaced John Oehser?
You've had compelling storylines with the backups, good play from guys like Tank Bigsby, and then now you're getting a chance to see the starters play for a half. It feels almost like a real game in front of hometown fans. I don't have newsflash. I have nothing to complain about.
Wow.
That is the first, man.
Wow.
All right, guys.
Let's ride the wave. ride the wave.
Look, we know it's at stake tonight, and we know who's playing. So give us each a player or two that you're in particular wanting to keep your eye on.
Look, man, I know you're going to want me to hang around the bottom of the roster and all that, but I want to see the stars. I want to see Trevor Lawrence in this offense, the first-team offense that we've talked about being able to light up scoreboards. I want to see them play fast against Vic Fangio's defense. It should be a good challenge, even though it'll still be a little more vanilla. I want to see how this offense looks now that we're committed to seeing them play for a couple quarters. I want to see if they can put the ball in the paint a couple times.
Yeah, obviously you want to see stars. I think Doug alluded to this week maybe trying to get some of those borderline starters, and I'm thinking of Greg Jr. more than anybody, a chance to get some looks against maybe some first-team guys. So will he try to slide some guys who really are probably not going to start or borderline into that second quarter, making sure that they get reps against elite guys? I think that's going to be interesting to watch. That nickel position is very interesting to watch. And then will he try to get some of those receivers into that same role to try to make a decision at what is really the fifth receiver spot? Six are going to make the team to try to figure out how those young receivers like Jacob Harris, Tim Jones, those guys look against first-tier guys. The second couple of series of the second quarter could be interesting on those fronts.
Bucky Brooks and John Oehser joining us from the broadcast booth. This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Bucky, if you're lined up across from Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, where do you start?
Well, one, you're dealing with a lot of speed. And what they do a great job of is they use that speed not only vertically on go balls, but they will use it horizontally, run across the field on a variety of shallow crosses. And so you have to be aware of where Tyreek Hill is at all time. He's the one that really scares you because he's the big playmaker. Jalen Waddle has speed, but you can contain some of the stuff that he does. So even though it's an exhibition game, you want to make sure that you have all eyes on number 10. You don't want number 10 to get loose because when he gets loose, it kind of juices up their offense, and then everybody starts making big plays off of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily panic if the Dolphins get a couple of touchdowns in the first half, and you don't want it. But by the same token of, the Jaguars' offense expects to score in this game. The Dolphins' offense is that kind of offense too. They're up there with the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Jags, the Bills. Those are the groups that if you're going to beat them during the regular season, there's a lot of times you're going to have to win shootouts against them. So it's a great test. If the defense performs great today, then you're really happy about it. But this Dolphins team is going to score points just like the Jaguars are.
Hey, guys, we talked a lot about, and Bucky alluded to it, the bottom end of the roster there. That's where the battles are being waged in terms of making this football team. But is there a veteran on either side of the ball that could, in your opinion, get waived this week that would raise the most eyebrows?
Yeah, it's tough.
That's negative Nancy over there.
I never quite know how to answer that because I'm not sure what would raise eyebrows. I don't think you're going to have shocks of a starter getting released. I think guys like, Dewey Wingard is on this team for special teams, in my opinion. So I don't really have a great answer for that. I wish I did. I think Chason's on the team because of the guaranteed salary because he's a solid special teams guy. Maybe I'm wrong on those. Those would sure raise my eyebrows because I don't expect that, Bucky.
Yeah, I think the one that I would keep an eye on is Caleb Chason. I know they would love to, if they could, move him because he hasn't certainly lived up to expectation. 3 sacks.
But is a team going to take on that salary? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe somebody falls in love with that.
I hear you. I hear you on that.
But he would be the one that I would keep an eye on. But, it's funny because I'm looking because to me when I look at the roster, there's a clear dividing line between the Tier 1 players on the roster and the other guys. I think the ones that I'm more concerned on is what's going to happen in the running back room. Who's going to be the fourth running back that you keep? Is it Jermichael Hayes? Who is that guy that's going to be in the rotation? How are they going to contribute in special teams? Because the running back room is talented with NTN, Bigsby. You got to think that the Ernest Johnson and Jermichael Hasty should be there.
Sure.
So that leaves some people on the outside looking in.
And I think they're keeping 4 tight ends along those lines too. So I don't think you'll see surprise there. So not great answers, but that's how we see it, Mike.
Yeah, going back to this Chazon stuff, I mean, who are the pass rushers right now? Who are the edge guys beyond the 2 starting guys we know about, Allen and
Well, I think
Trayvon?
Abdullah certainly has flashed during the preseason enough to make you think that you could get some production out of him. I don't, high sack total, I don't know. But
he's a rookie, though.
Can he affect the quarterback?
Right.
So that's why I think even as much as Caleb Vaughn hasn't lived up to his draft status, he's still a guy who's had game action. He plays well in special teams, and he gets a little bit of pressure even though he hasn't gotten sacked. So that's why that would surprise me a little bit, although I'm with Bucky. If they could get draft picks for him, then then maybe you'd move him. So, Bucky?
Well, I think the thing with the guys on the edge, and it's rare for these guys to come open and available on the cut line. Caleb Chase and some of these guys at the bottom of the roster are competing against the rest of the league. And so who are the Jaguars looking at from another team? Who's someone that's available that maybe they can give up a 7th-round pick or someone that hits the waiver wire? That is the conversation that you have in front offices over the next few days. Is there somebody elsewhere that might be an upgrade over some of the guys that we currently have on the bottom part of the roster?
Yeah, and as far as Caleb Vaughn goes, even if you didn't have a trade partner, the dead cap hit saves you about $2.5 million roughly if he's not on the roster this year, which could be pushed into next year when a lot of contract decisions need to be made. Guys, offensive line, we've all talked about it in the last couple of weeks. The injuries have started to pile up, not to the starters yet, but how concerning is this with the backup group?
Well, I think if you had a couple injuries tonight, you'd be real concerned. If you get out of this healthy, then I'm not sure you're very concerned because, as you said, because Ben Bartch is coming back, they already knew about Cam. They've got what they thought was going to be their opening day lineup already there. So Cooper Hodges is a big concern because I think you wanted him around this year to be able to practice and get ready and eventually be a very solid backup at the end of the season. Shatley's a concern because of the heart. You're always concerned when you hear that. But if they can stay healthy tonight along the front, then I think they feel okay. But you don't want to have another one.
No, you don't want to have another one. And it's a big part of the offensive puzzle, making sure that the front line is intact. What you're hoping when we talk to the injuries, you got, 10 or 11 days to get ready after this for that first game. Hopefully you'll get 1 or 2 of those guys back and you're able to kind of figure it out. But you certainly don't want to have an injury. And if it looks like it's trending where you're having a couple guys go out, I think you probably see Doug Peterson get off of that original plan and pull those guys because
get the guys out,
coming out of this game healthy is probably still the top priority.
What do you think's going through Ben Bartch's mind tonight? 10 months after he finally got off the PUP list in training camp, a couple of weeks of practice, and now here he is going to play in a game for the first time. Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky, I've never obviously played anything close to a high level or had an ACL, but I've got to think you just want to get those first few snaps where you feel confident and the knee has responded. Now, he's done that already, obviously, but doing it in the game, getting back after being out since October, just convincing yourself that what you felt already is what you're going to feel during a game.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of it because no matter how much you try and simulate those things on the practice field, there's nothing like game action. The speed is different, the intensity is different, and so he wants to get through that first game knowing that, okay, my knee is strong enough, I feel good,
and trust
I'm solid.
It, right? That's
I
the
can
word,
trust
right?
it, I can play. If I have to play a game, I'm ready to go. And so, yeah, there's a lot of anxiety and butterflies that are kind of bouncing around right now, but they should go away as he continues to play snap after snap after snap in this game.
All right, Bucky, you're on television tonight. Have a great show.
Thanks, man.
That's Bucky Brooks. John Oehser will look forward to reading your writing, as always, on Jaguars.com.
I'll do whatever it is I do.
Whatever it is you do to help the ball club. That's what John Oehser does. Bucky Brooks up there as well. And check out the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays, 4 o'clock, Jaguars.com and Jaguars YouTube. Also, hey, click Jaguars.com. You can go to the video page there and see all the past shows. The official Jaguars Podcast Network has the audio versions of those as well. We're inside 20 minutes away from Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff starts at 6 o'clock. We'll return, though, with a fantasy forecast and go back to the broadcast booth. Frank Frangie will join us. The Dolphins and the Jaguars wrap the preseason starting at 7 o'clock. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Flight by Yingling is the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yingling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass, raise the bar. Flight by Yingling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yingling & Son Incorporated, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Tackle your marketing needs with Kessler Creative. Providing direct mail services for more than a decade, Kessler has a wide range of services from small mailers to large banners and signs. Draft Kessler as your first pick to receive the best targeted mail list. Elevate your business and be on the winning team with Kessler Creative. Kessler Creative. Results-driven marketing and proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey Jags Nation, it's Andre Sisco, safety of your Jacksonville Jaguars, here to talk to you about Lou Ray Peanut Company. Lou Ray is bringing something to the market that has never been done before, microwavable boiled peanuts. Whether you like salty or a peppery Cajun kick, they've got you covered. Now, thanks to them, y'all can enjoy boiled peanuts at the bank while you watch me and the rest of the team tear it up on the field. Can't make the game? No sweat. Find a bag at a store nearest to you by heading to LouRayPeanut.com/find us. Go nuts, go Jags, and as always, Duval.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at the bank. The Dolphins and the Jaguars set for preseason week 3. The kickoff time, 7:07 officially at EverBank Stadium. Tonight's game presented by Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Jaguars and the NFL. We're closing in on the regular season, Mike. Couple of weeks away from week 1. The Jaguars will face the Colts in Indianapolis. Those fantasy lineups are starting to get dialed up and ready for week 1. And how about a fantasy forecast or some players maybe to watch in tonight's game?
Well, really the big news that came out today is Josh Jacobs got an agreement done with the Raiders to show up and play, and I think there's enough time for him to be ready for opening day. Coming off a year where he led the league in rushing, if Josh Jacobs did not have a contract dispute, he would have been a guy going in the top 15 picks in most leagues. Instead, he's fallen into the 4th, sometimes the 5th round, just tumbling because people didn't know about his situation. When would he show up, and would he be prepared to play when he did? Now they've sweetened the deal. He would have gotten $10.4 million under the franchise tag. It's going to be a 1-year, $12 million deal, so he gets to save a little bit of face, much like Austin Eckler did earlier this offseason. And he'll show up and report, and he'll be there in the opening day lineup. So if you did draft already and you drafted Josh Jacobs in the 4th round or later, you got a pretty good steal, it appears. Meanwhile, Indianapolis has reportedly set a deadline of this upcoming Tuesday. If a team wants to trade for running back Jonathan Taylor, who has requested a trade, the team gave him permission to shop himself around the league. Miami leads a group of teams that are interested, as they're reportedly already making an offer for Taylor, but it's not what Indianapolis is seeking. They want a first-round pick or picks beyond that are equivalent to a first-round pick. Taylor is said to be eager about this opportunity to get out of Indianapolis. But right now, JP, I think the bottom line is I don't think you can expect Jonathan Taylor to be in the opening day lineup for the Indianapolis Colts at this point. He's kind of been doing the little hold-in type situation with the ankle injury that he's been dealing with, so he hasn't really been practicing. So even if he stays in Indy, I don't think it's likely that he suits up on opening day. Wanted to give a final look at where Jaguars are going in fantasy drafts on average, because it's the last time we'll talk about this until the season kicks off. Calvin Ridley is in one quarterback leagues the first Jaguars selected on average with the 38th overall pick. So in a 12-team league, he's an early fourth rounder. I've seen him go as high as the early second round. If you're drafting in Jacksonville, you're going to have to spend an early draft pick on him and Trevor Lawrence, so act accordingly. Travis Etienne would be next up, going 45th overall, so right there kind of in the middle of the fourth round. I saw him just recently go with the second pick of round 2 in a 12-team league that I was in. Trevor Lawrence being drafted in the 5th round, 54th overall. Christian Kirk in the 6th round. There's a pattern developing here. Evan Ingram in the 7th round. But the real values, I think, are Tank Bigsby going 123rd overall on average. It's an 11th round selection. If you're drafting in a deep enough league, particularly if you're drafting best ball leagues right now, he's a great option as a 5th running back. And Zay Jones is criminally underrated, I got to believe, at pick 161 in the 14th round. I'd almost rather just pass on Christian Kirk in round 6 and wait the 8 rounds of value and pick up Zay Jones at that stage, because I think they're both going to have their ups and downs throughout the season, because there are just so many guys you've got to feed the football to on this Jaguars team.
There's one football and, like 6-7 guys to touch it.
Right. The quarterback will touch it every time, but there's 6 primary skill position players that you've got to feed on this football team.
There you have it, a fantasy forecast from Mike Dempsey. Let's go back to the broadcast booth upstairs at EverBank Stadium. Frank Frangie will have the call of the game here on the Jaguars Radio Network coming up just after 7 o'clock. And hey, Frank, we're back at the bank, man. What's up?
Home game, JP. 2 of my favorite words. Home game, gorgeous night. A little bit hot, but not a cloud in the sky. And finally, the crowd gets to see this this exciting team with all the expectations. Can't wait.
Some starters tonight, which is fantastic. We just heard John and Bucky break down some of the ideas that, hey, if they have a week 2 preseason joint practice, maybe this could be the formula moving ahead. It's pretty exciting, right, to actually have some time with the starters on the field in the preseason in the last game before the regular year goes.
It is fun, JP, because here's why. All of us have spent so much time talking about 5th receiver and 4th running back and 6th cornerback and the backup guys. We focused on that because that's what for us that watch it and try and project. That's what training camp is, because good teams tend to know who their guys are, right? Well, because of that, you don't get to see the guys all that often. At least the fans don't. So that's what's exciting about tonight, is for 2 quarters or so, the fans get to see Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley and Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker and all the rest. That part's really exciting.
All right, Frank, we love all the weapons that they have. We love where Trevor Lawrence seems to be going into his 3rd year in the National Football League. We don't love right now the situation with the offensive line depth with the injuries. Pretty thin behind the projected starters. Obviously, Cam Robinson suspended. If you got another injury to this group, how concerning would that be?
Yeah, that's a concern. You hit it, Mike. That's the thing. I think the starters, I heard you and John talking earlier, and John said it. If you got all 5 of your guys plus your top 2 back, let's say you got the 5 that are going to start next week at Indy. Walker, Little, Bartch, I'm assuming, Fortner, Sheriff, and Anton Harrison. And then you've got Hance and Shatley, and all 7 of those guys are good to go. You know what? You feel okay. But to your point, it's a good one. You lose 1 or 2 more of those guys, then what do you do? And so right now you feel okay, but that's certainly, as injury watch goes, that's certainly the spot everyone's going to be watching.
Well, injury watch crept over to the defensive line as well, Frank, with Foley Fatukasi unavailable, and maybe back for week 1, but not sure yet. And, of course, Devon Hamilton with a non-football back issue. So, who we're going to see tonight is the big question in the interior, and just the unknown of those injuries makes this pretty intriguing.
Yeah, Roy Robertson Harris is healthy and ready to go of those 3 guys. After that, we don't know about Devon and Foley. We just don't know. So I think all eyes are on the 3 guys that Doug has talked about. Tyler Lacey, the rookie out of Oklahoma State, Jeremiah Ledbetter, who's been around the league a lot. JP hasn't done a lot, but has had a terrific camp and some terrific preseason games. And Adam Gotsis, who's been a darn good veteran here. So my guess is you'll see some combination of those three guys, Ledbetter, Lacey, and Gotsis, to fill in for the two missing guys. And I think that starts with tonight. So if you're looking for something to kind of watch how those three guys in that interior do, because they're very important to this football team.
Well, and Frank, we talk about the backups on the offensive line, the guys coming off the bench in terms of pass rush. We've discussed them ad nauseum throughout the offseason. But what about Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker tonight? Chance to go up against another team's starting offensive unit. How important would it be to see them have some success?
I think if you ask people, Mike, what they really want to see tonight, what do you want to see? Obviously, Trevor to Ridley and Kirk and all that, because that's the most fun thing to watch. But other than that sack, if I could tell you right now, the starters are going to play a quarter and a half, and they're going to walk away from here having sacked 2 or 3 times or so, we'd all be happy, because that's what's been missing. We all know it. Those two are the key guys. The two guys that backed them up or helped the cause last year. Arden Key's gone. DeJuan Smoot's down for a while. So, boy, Mike, you are right. We really need to see Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen take that next step, whether that's tonight, whether it's a couple weeks in Indy, whenever it is. I mean, heck, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are coming in, so those guys have to take the next step. I think it's critically important. You're right. We'll get a pretty good look tonight at how their progress is happening.
Frank, enjoy it. Have a great call. We'll talk to you.
Okay, fellas. Thanks, you.
Frank Frangie from the broadcast booth upstairs at EverBank Stadium, getting ready for the 7:07 official kickoff time tonight at the bank for preseason week 3. The starters going for both sides. We'll see how long the Dolphins guys stay out there, but in general, the Jags starters maybe a couple quarters, according to Doug Peterson. But they can adjust that depending on how things are going in this game, of course. But one final look to see what they can get done and just kind of settle in, clean operation, both sides of the ball, keep everybody healthy, and then bubble wrap them.
Just go out and go bing, bing, bing right down the field and put some points on the board, man. Seriously. Isn't that what we're waiting for?
Fast starts,
This
right?
offense that's supposed to be maybe a top 5 unit in the National Football League. Let's see them get it done today.
That would be nice.
Would be nice.
Yeah,
And you got to figure at least a couple of series each for offense and defense versus Miami starters. And then beyond that, it's probably the Jags playing a little bit longer.
Yeah, and then in the second half, it's the last chance for some of those guys to make an impression. If not here, then as Doug Peterson said this week and everybody says, the 31 other teams, the eye in the sky is watching us all. And certainly everybody on that field in the second half tonight, it might be their last chance to get some things on tape for NFL teams or other leagues around football in the offseason as well. But looking forward to it tonight. Should be a fantastic evening for football. A little warm, so hydrate properly. If you're making your way downtown to EverBank Stadium, thank you for joining us. Coming up, it's Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff. We'll have the top stories of the day. Prior to the Jaguars running back, Fred Taylor joins us. And the final word before kickoff with head coach Doug Peterson. The Dolphins and the Jaguars coming up in just over an hour. Thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars,